Short synopsis: a child of the underground embarks on a journey to save his home station from a seemingly unstoppable foe. There he, and subsequently the player, will get to live through many an event and get to know the denizens of Metro, both friendly and hostile. The story is competently written, the lore is rich, and characters are endearing. The adventure doesn't feel stale in the slightest, and while certain aspects of the story are a tad predictable, the game won't lose steam because of it.
Hey, Artyom. When you left your home station, did you ever think we'll end up in a place like this?
We begin our journey watching the rust-coated stairs of an old Soviet shaft, heading towards an unspecified direction with our mysterious comrade. We're on the surface, inhaling the toxic air through our gas mask, a life-saving commodity. We rendezvous with a few mates, get surrounded by a horde of overgrown rats, and just as things were getting interesting, the game fades to black, leaving the 8-hour earlier cliché to keep us company. In our not-so-distant future, we were a warrior, but before that hour comes, we are naught but a silent nobody, a youngster living in the outskirts of the far exhibition station. The game momentarily greets us with the images of the past, the world that man once comfortably lived in, now lost. We see our protagonist Artyom's stepfather, Sukhoi, one of the more influential figures on the station. The fate of our protagonist's biological father is anyone's guess, while his mother's is quite known for those who read the book. She transformed into a rat swarm's personal snack bar soon after the bombs fell, which left the orphan with his aforementioned Sukhoi character. He says some hunter fellow is to arrive soon, hopefully with enough good news to at least somewhat break through the bleak atmosphere that permeates the exhibition. We follow him to the station's hospital and see that whatever force assaults this place carries harm that extends beyond physical damage. In the room right next to the lazarette, Hunter comes around, hands us a nice postcard and has a chat with our unofficial guardian. Of course, with this copious amount of artery fluid spilt, the scavengers will come knocking. The Nosachi eat everything and anything. Humans are but another meal on the menu.
I like this set piece. It relies on the swift aim, making the accuracy of the shooter inversely proportional to the amount of hostiles in the area. Shoot some vermin into the afterlife before they break through the ventilation shafts, the less of them will be able to get in the sexual harassment distance from you. There is even an achievement for eliminating these beasts without any of them breaking through. On the controller that is almost impossible, I'd say, unless you're using aim assist, which is completely reasonable.
You finished that sentence. I denounce you.
Not everyone enjoys masochism, you know?
The two of them go on to speak that these mysterious dark ones that harass the station are akin to a next step of mankind's evolution, a new human, Homo novus, coming in to claim the ruined cradle of man as their new kingdom. Stephen naturally disagrees and refuses to bow down to the cruel selective fate. What a surprise. Another attack just transpired, and we get to see the damage these creatures can do to an entire armed garrison.
The devil knows what's happening out there, beyond your perimeter. I must go recon the situation. Listen carefully, Artyom. If I'm not back here by morning, you must get to police station and find a man named Miller. Tell him what's happened to me, and what's stirring in the northern tunnels.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Of course he never comes back. Hence, our silent protagonist has to find his way out of the station. Lucky for us, there is a small gig to just do that.
Huh, interesting. These books are from the universe of Metro 2033. Quite an expansive collection of fanfics. 110, apparently. Some of which try to imagine the world outside of Moskva. Think of Star Wars Expanded Universe if it was more Soviet, grounded, depressive, irradiated, and more underground than the aforementioned franchise or the Stalker books, which may have actually been printed in upwards of millions. And that's Vladimir Sergeyevich Berezin's Road Signs, the very first one in the series, and we've actually read this one. Isn't this a story about a guy, his father's mate, a Circassian warrior named Mizo, and a man simply nicknamed the Mathematician, who together steal a somehow functional Yakovlev plane to fly to Petersburg in search of the protag's father?
Oh, And throughout the journey, they speak about some mythical delta mutation which may have allowed the creatures to perform leaps of evolution, transforming into the monsters that roam the surface. First intimate contact, and who would have the first sex on the moon? I remember local variant of the librarian named the Conductor, because of its silhouette killing the Meso lad. Oh, there were also, elves! Tall humanoid post-Soviet elves. See why I want to tell you the story? The leader of whom was a redhead who offered her birth canal to the protagonist. Their sexual encounter was compared to a battle with a leviathan. And that's not the funniest part of the story, as when the squad was about to leave this post-nuclear Rivendell, the mathematician just slipped, fell, and died. The lad survived through hell. He just slipped and snapped his neck. Bloody hell. I'm sorry.
We can barely recall anything from the classics such as Count of the Monte Cristo or Montezuma's Daughter, yet this...
Sad, isn't it? Moving on. A few of the locals are headed towards a neighboring Riga station. Our squad of 3 men gets a serendipitous 4th participant, and in a span of minutes our journey begins. An unexpected obstruction forces our heroes to take a detour treaded by few.
These tunnels are strange. There's something awry, something toying with the man's mind. Our guest soon begins losing his grip on reality, claiming to hear voices, and then the screen fades to white.
Waking up on a chalky white soil, we see a hunter speaking with us, shooting something in the distance. A tall black figure approaches and seemingly removes the warrior out of the gene pool. Did we accidentally end up in Detroit or something? The Dark One approaches, its plans a mystery to all but the creature. And as it leaves, just as mysteriously as it appeared, a roar of a .357 Magnum ensures its permanent stay. What's worse than traveling inside abandoned tunnels of Metro? Being in one whilst unconscious. Everything past these hermetically sealed gates and garrisons thirsts the blood of man, and blood of man they shall feast on. An army of gaping maws rushes the cart. One of them even proceeds to approach you like a Jehovah's Witness out of nowhere. Hello, mate! Would you want to hear the tale of our Lord and Savior Andre? Thankfully, the prompt will tell us to mash the use button to shut its snout before our comrade here delivers what I will call an explosive buckshot ham shot. With extreme prejudice, he then proceeds to give us this concussive ejaculate delivery machine to plat. It uses the left trigger to shoot the left and the right trigger to shoot the right barrel. I guess ADS was not in 4A's plans when it came to shotguns or almost anything in the third slot. One of the men transforms into a sandwich, we fall from the trolley and literally see death dashing beside us as we scramble towards the Riga station garrison, seconds before the locals decide to make some shashlik. First brush with death, but we ultimately triumphed. In Chapter 2, we see the survivors doing what every Russian citizen does after a good day's work, drinking vodka. We're given ammunition as a reward, and head out to get the bloody intercourse out of this little station.
Hey there, little one. Got something for us?
The little man was sent by someone, and he offers us directions in exchange for a small fee.
A single bullet doesn't sound too bad.
It's more than enough to permanently escape the life, if you know what I mean.
What is wrong with you?
We take off and meet arguably the most iconic character of the series. The man who taught us the word bourbon. Bourbon. This man is endlessly quotable and quoted by us throughout our childhood.
Some people call these demons, I call them bitches.
If we got a bag of tea for every time we quoted him, a lifetime supply would be easily guaranteed. I love my bloody tea. We sneak out from the station and stumble into our first bandit encampment. Doesn't matter where your barrel pokes at, be it man or monster, once that hypothalamus kicks in, the morals get tossed out the window faster than an Arab wife after a bridal night revealed she wasn't a virgin. We pop a few, and they pop us in return. Ranger hardcore with a wonky controller and an unfamiliar control scheme is hard, but Not impossibly so.
It still baffles us as to whose idea it was to leave the most powerful weapon in the second chapter.
Say hello to Hellbreath. It's neither going to leave our inventory nor see too much action. Think of it as a crutch, since we cannot ADS and the joysticks are not making aiming easy. We move through what appears to be a fart-infested bridge, find out the tunnel ahead has collapsed, and get chased by the Nosachi border patrol for taking a hidden detour.
Huh, funny. Did this place have a chase sequence in Redux?
Or was it cunt? We end up in an unnamed shallow grave of many an unfortunate soul, the catacombs. A mysterious power hangs over this place, plaguing us by a vision of a light behind the gate, the very one Uncle Bourbon proceeds to start hitting on. And as hallucinations stretch more and more, the blood-red ravine splits open behind our adventurers, greedily dragging them towards itself. But just as the winds are to consume them both, a distinctly alien arm offers help, pulling the two to safety. We push forward towards the hermetically sealed doors and the civilization it guards, but the process attracts our well-known acquaintances. We make our stand as the locals rev up the defenses.
Still can't get used to this control scheme.
We survive, somehow, and keep moving. Where there's man, there's corruption, shady deals, and bribes. And our good old Uncle Bourbon seems to be testicles deep in this bleak web. Our stay in this station is as fleeting as a fart in the wind, and soon we do our first raid towards the surface. Welcome to Moskva, brother. A frigid shadow of its former glory. A beautiful tomb for a civilization, huh? Now only the cold death stands as the sole autocrat of the desolated Megapolis. The roads caved in and transformed into rivers, houses, offices, and such desolate shells full of danger. The Nosachi feed down there, a different set of monsters hunts up here. The demons, originally named rat mutants, soar through the skies, descending upon anything unlucky enough to be out in the open. Hard to take out of the gene pool, yes, but not impossible if one has a sticky grenade or two. Apart from these overgrown pigeons, you also have to contend with these toothy scrotums, the Watchmen. Why Watchmen, you ask? Because if one knows of your presence, they will make sure many more will do as well. And since stealth is just about as reliable as a car with 4 flat tires, that's speeding down the frozen highway, that is, at least half of your stealth attempts will result in failure. We get separated from our alcohol-named friend, move through the former hideout of the surface-dwelling stalkers, experience a bout of schizophrenia, or a vision of the past, almost give our friend a heart attack, and barely escape transforming into a monster buffet.
The metro may be a tomb of rusted metal, but it's akin to being stranded on a sinking ship, lost somewhere in the Pacific. It is doomed, yes, but outside is naught but an ocean of blue death, and our trip to the surface made sure to nail that concept in the head.
Naturally, the gang Bourbon was supposed to meet at a sudden shift in management, and we have to figure out our way out of this mess. Good bloody luck, sweetheart.
Yes, this place was a nightmare for us. The poor integration of the joysticks plus absolute deficit of ammunition is a recipe for disaster. I am glad all the lads chose to discard their ammunition milliseconds before biting the dust, so that their enemy could only scrounge up 1 or 2 shells of bullets.
Finally, through sheer trial and error, we break through, only to witness our not-so-humble guide getting the express Dirty Harry therapy. But if you think 4A Games is done gating you behind iconic NPCs, well, think again, love. Khan represents the spiritual side of the metro. Originally intended to be a man of Asian descent, hence the name, he is the tether that will keep you bound to the soil whilst encountering the many incomprehensibilities of the underground tunnels. The apocalypse somehow managed to sever the connection with heaven and hell, meaning certain places transformed into nets of souls, eternally forced to relive the past moments of their existence. Humans find solace in company, especially when suffering. A single touch is enough to permanently become a piece of this tragic, looping history. We see the local anomalies, floating balls of electricity that discharge their aforementioned energy onto the face and chest of any organic being that is going past certain speeds. You find a railcar and proceed into what can arguably be considered one of the most intense sections of the game.
For us, this is masterful. Picture this. Before this moment, every station trodden was lit with life. There were bastions of civilization. This one is dim, bleak with heavy atmosphere. The cursed station is on the brink of collapse, its blood drained by constant merciless attacks by the monstrous Nasachi. Manpower is in deficit, and men who were supposed to plant explosives to cave in the current set of tunnels are missing.
We are tasked to plant the bombs ourselves while the Nasachi
attacking groups at random intervals, which adds to the tension. The constant fear of an inevitable assault will keep you on your toes as you dive deeper and deeper into the station.
The bombs are set. Khan takes us to a small shrine to commemorate the dead and tells us to go down this shaft. This shaft leads us towards the armory station. Basically a cut of former Soviet war machine moved beneath the soil. Naturally, the new Soviet Union has formed and its past failures were conveniently slid under the rug. And in a typical communist fashion, they try to arrest you for absolutely no reason. We make a run for it and miraculously end up getting snatched by Khan's mate, Andrew the blacksmith. He offers us a few guns, which we obviously won't be trading for a superior Gauss rifle in our inventory, a new outfit, and a way off the station. We get underneath a railcar that is supposed to deliver fresh communist conscripts to a literal war zone in the tunnels. Think about it for a moment. Man and war go together like lead and gunpowder, milk and biscuits, my genitalia and your hot siblings. The metro is no exception. Humanity is almost extinct, and yet they still find ways to push themselves deeper into this pit of blood and guts. History rhymes, and local Reds have their local version of the bad men from 1940s. The Reich, they're called. No further explanation needed. We have to somehow sneak past the Reds, crawl into the arse crack of the Reich, while a bloody battle is waged above us. And with Metro 2033's stealth being just as functional as World of Warcraft addicted college student social life, eventually you will have to repurpose many of these men into Hannibal Lecter's dinner. And just as we exit the level and this whole schizophrenic episode is to conclude, a Reich soldier materializes into being and knocks us out. Of course, our fanboys of genetic purity prefer playing with food, which allows a sudden deus ex machina to take place. And look at that, our saviors, Ullman and Stepan, happen to be the Steve Bloom's comrades, with one remaining on their mission and the other guiding us towards the turret section. Trying to use a greased-up axe to cut down a tree would feel more comfortable than this. The left stick controls it horizontally, the right one vertically. There is but a simple objective, simply unload into everything and anything that moves. We survive against the hostile motorized railcars and even a bloody tank. Afterwards, we switch on to a less armed version.
Someone must be there. Take him out,
Fun fact, even if you take the guard out in the Redux version, Reich will still become alert. But here we sneak past the sleeping garrison without much hassle, are forced to take a wrong turn and end up in the deepest bowels of the depot.
Too bad we do not stay here longer. A jungle of trains and a dimly lit station. The source of both light and noise are us and us alone. The entire place simply oozes atmosphere and begs us to remain. But the vermin populating its cold intestines do not look so favorably towards the visitors. Our beloved mole monsters come in to ruin the eerie atmosphere. We give our hosts a warm reception before our friend transforms into a fresh piece of shashlik and our rail car derails.
Ah, these are the children of the underground. This level was the very first Metro 2033 content seen by the world and subsequently us.
They baptize us into their squad and we stand our ground against the horde of man-eaters. Well, sort of try. Soon enough we get a sonic boom and the biomass breaks through. Miraculously our protagonist is the sole survivor, and the soon-to-be-expired leader will hand us a tape, which we need to broadcast to the police station. and so begins the most annoying section of the game. It's a bloody war zone. The monsters spare nobody, be it young or old. These murals are from Kiev, not Moscow, by the way. That's because the first drafts of Stalker 2 were being made in parallel to the early builds of Stalker Oblivion Lost. That Stalker died in its conceptual uterus. Its small rhetorical fetal body got repurposed into this. The smaller fry of the metro, the Kikimuras, appear to have taken a page from the book of Che Guevara's tactics, being numerous and crawling out from the rectum of the world just to tear yours out. The act of soaking in this depressive atmosphere is simply neutered by these constant, endless attacks. Don't bother shooting, more will simply take their place. A true metro dweller, born and raised in the tunnels, a first generation that hasn't seen the azure skies. Children are our future, and our future is a child starved of the simplest sight we used to take for granted. That was his uncle, and now we take it upon ourselves to defend the child. And things turn even more sour. The weight the kid puts on the protagonist translates into a horribly floaty control scheme, which further complicates the fact that every dog-sized monster gangbangs you from every possible direction. Have fun taking aim with a controller, mate. We rush through that damn place, ascend, why is this again? And at the very top reunite a worried mother with her little crotch goblin. She offers us payment as a token of her appreciation.
And since the oceans of blood are already reaching our shoulders, a bit more evil karma won't hurt. And yes, this is considered to be a negative deed. Artyom, sweetheart, you are literally on an exodus across an irradiated web of deadly tunnels, fighting tooth and nail for a ride at a heartbeat. And a small pick-me-up before a nightmare that is peeking just around the corner is considered an act of selfishness. Every life cut short, every bullet fired is a warpath that is to save dozens, if not hundreds of lives you care about. Crying out loud.
Nonetheless, we visit a local trader and move past an airlock ahead. The surface greets us with Reich boys who desire to expand their territory. A well-placed grenade will ensure most of them have a swift meeting with their Führer. We sneak, blast, slash past these German larpers and enter a neighboring station. Our friendly neighborhood Spartan Ullman returns, gives us a new toy and sends us to slaughter some more Reich boys. We sneak or shoot past them and reunite with our comrade and finally enter Polis.
That is actually Kievsky railway station, moved beneath the soil for the effect of grandiosity.
Fun fact, in the original Metro web novel, Artyom's journey actually ends here. He gets accidentally shot in the head and dies, much to everyone's surprise.
We meet the Spartan leader, Miller, and he leads us towards the ruling class of the polis.
Finally, these people, the strongest faction left in the city, can surely provide help for us, and they tell us to have an intimate contact with ourselves and get lost. Thankfully, Miller, the leader of the Spartans, is not the type to flatten his gluteal muscles on the chair whilst doing nothing, so he chooses to take matters into his own hands. D6. D6, a top-secret military installation filled to the brim with all the weapons a man needs to commit a genocide. But first, it has to be found. We take off. The massive library is our next destination, and that rubble of rock that never gets reused again is lethal. We get inside and meet a curious new figure, Danila, that the book readers are sure to recognize.
We enter a palace of knowledge and see how the harsh winds, cold and moisture desecrated it. Can you imagine just how many of these treasures of civilizations were lost to neglect and elements?
We move along. Danila almost becomes a chew toy of a demon, gets discarded, and is taken by Miller back underground.
Still better than the fate of having your intestines exposed to the world, a fate suffered in the books.
Once again, we are alone in a hostile environment, and are about to meet a new friend. The librarians are fierce primates. They are just as tough as they are strong and aggressively territorial, only deterred by an endless barrage of fire, or an even more deadly weapon, a maniacal stare. You have to participate in this absolutely lethal staring contest and not break the line of sight by a second. which is really made hard by an absolute deficit of gas masks, which had us scrambling for every bit of gear to simply not suffocate into the afterlife. After a vicious stare, they go idle for a while.
What the? Get in the bloody intercourse! What in Satan's rectum is going on? Move, damn it!
Yeah, basically the uncapped frame rate bent the little hole over and filled it so bloody hard you can't fit into it now without going into the Nvidia control panel and capping FPS to 60. We move along, witness a massive monkey on demon action and fall into the depths of the establishment. It is never quite explained why the local librarians are more disfigured, more mutated, but the same rules apply to them as well. Thankfully, some of them are asleep, which makes navigation a bit simpler. We get inside this secret-looking vault and begin our search.
This is one of the few moments where the protagonist, Artyom, shows genuine frustration and desperation, something the game will definitely benefit from if used more often.
We find it. Maps to the D6. We sneak out of the library, but the librarian's task is to keep the facility's contents inside, so one of them confronts us. Thankfully, our lovely Spartan friend Ullman shows up at the critical moment again and saves the day again. We reach the Spartan base, a repurposed church. There we give the maps to Miller and get ready to head out. The local trader has all the ammo and weaponry in the world, hinting that any further resupply shop will be simply non-existent. This is the last push, and 4A will go all out on it. We have another vision, another window into the possible insight of our enemy. Meanwhile, our friends are trying to weld their way into the sealed doors of D6. Of course, the Nosachi come to crash the party, and we have to give them a further spit roasting until a wandering electro ball comes in to finish what we started. We enter what the game refers to as a dungeon, a set of chambers populated by the tunnel filth. This moment highlights just how badly the ally damage was nerfed in the Redux, as these lads can stand their ground and give you some room to breathe. We lose a few teammates, fight an armored Nosachi, and a magically operational train arrives to take us deeper into the facility. The electronic trains slide into the depths of D6, a massive Soviet-era establishment. We pull some switches to activate the ventilation system for some fresh air, and find out some missiles are still viable, but require manual aiming.
Oh, the lights went out. Something's siphoning the power from the main reactor. What the fuck?
Us and Millman head towards... that level. Everything in this nest of pain wants to watch your muscles melt off your bones. To add insult to injury, they seem to really want your NPC companion, which means you constantly have to tail this bipedal slog, lest an entire row of these things melt him. The spawners are infinite, ammo is not endless, fun is deficient. That cosmic piece of feces is what's clogging the power supply. We finally drag ourselves through this circle of hell, reaching a crane at the chamber's top. Our task is to pull these fuel rods out before the turd gives us an acid shower. The overgrown mass, which may or may not have been your mother at some stage of its life, succumbs. We witness the sheer motherlode of military technology occupying the inner walls of D6. With flame and tank, one can take over the metro and the capital of Russia. But first, a genocide is on the menu. We acquire a manual targeting device, get inside the automated trains, and move forward. The final chapter finally brings us back to the point it all started. We maneuver past the predatory scrotums, but not too far from an essential NPC, as hints that death won't lag behind. As the rivers of biomass flow above, we finally make our way into the tower, by slicing the counterweights on a lift cabin. The tower is in disarray, every step capable of being a careless traveler's last. A demon attacks our boy Miller, and is temporarily decommissioned, leaving us to handle the situation alone.
He's here. He brings death.
The Dark Ones are anxious. They wish to stop Artyom from accomplishing his task, and now we are to face the biggest challenge the game has to offer. Parkour. Apparently Metro decided to become a platformer. Let's call it Metrario 63. Take a look at the screen. What do you see? That you are lost on a frozen island of metal with barely any idea on how to proceed. Indeed, you could have more luck trying to untangle the mind of a foot fetishist than comprehending an optimal route. Years of playthroughs past, this set piece always sneaks up on my blissfully ignorant mind. Always accounts for the half of the late game demises, and always makes me ache to perform the excavation of my own cranium with my own nails. Who thought this was a good idea?
That's a ladder. That is a bloody ladder. All these years of suffering and frustration could have been avoided.
No!
Oh my God, what were you thinking? For once in your bloody mind, could you not use your fucking head? Why do we have to go through this? Why do I have to suffer because of you?
We reach the tip and see the world We reach the tip and see the world unfold in every direction, a sight unwitnessed by man since the Judgment Day. And at the center of this tragic painting stands something alien, a hive, a colony. We are about to end a fledgling civilization, but they won't go down without a fight. In a blink of an eye, we are thrust into a world of endlessly repeating shapes and impossible physics. The Dark Ones can't physically harm us, but they can deceive our mind into taking a plunge from the heavens. A form of our loved ones is taken to lure us into a false sense of security, but a person with an IQ above room temperature can see through its deceptive nature. Eventually, as we run through a tunnel of concrete, a familiar face gives us a revolver. If it's hostile, we remove it from the gene pool. A few rounds is all it takes. If you found all karma points, somehow snuck past every hostile human without sending them to Kingdom Come, the dying Dark One tells Artyom that their kind wants peace.
It was their attempts at communication that caused the madness, as everyone apart from us, for some reason, was woefully incompatible with their psychic influence.
We shoot the nav device, sparing them and ponder the future of our kind. But since getting the good ending is almost impossible, the tall humanoid speaks naught about peace and such, and the Hiroshima Protocol is initiated, wiping the Dark Ones off the Earth. In the game, Artyom doubts the righteousness of his actions, and in the book, he realizes his mistakes a tad too late. The weight of guilt weighs down on his heart as Artyom quietly returns to Metro, his home. How do you think he gets off? I mean, like, physically. I mean, like, he's a guy, but I want to know how he can get off this long, hard, massive... Okay, fine, whatever, I guess keeps with the character. We guess this is the end of this little adventure. We don't know who you are or why you bothered to watch all of this, but we are wholeheartedly thankful. If you liked what you saw, a like would be more than appreciated, and a comment of encouragement or feedback would be even more appreciated.
Once again, thank you for watching our little video. Jesus Christ, I swear to God, we never intended to be this long. It always comes out like this. And we hope to see you again someday. We kind of want to cover, as we said, the guide story total conversion mod next. Until then, we have other videos in the catalogue. You can check them out. Goodbye, and take care, Metro Dwellers. May your duplet shotgun always have shells.
And may the Nosachi whose skull you spread open remains dead permanently.